Idaho Matters is brought to you in part by St. Luke's Pharmacy, now offering free home delivery. For daily medications or one time prescriptions, home delivery is easy to set up. It's convenient and safe. St. Luke's Pharmacy, now delivering to your doorstep. Information on how to get started at stlukesonline.org.
The Boise State Public Radio app. News, music, and more.
Idaho Matters.
Morning Edition.
All things considered.
The Connector.
And more.
And more.
You can take us wherever you go and stay connected. Without it, you're missing out. Download it free.
You can also communicate using the Talk to Us tab.
The Boise State Public Radio app.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette, and you're listening to Idaho Matters. So where else can you see live performances of shows like Oklahoma, My Fair Lady, Showboat, Camelot, The King and I, South Pacific, and The Music Man? And it's all for free. Over the last 107 years, Boise Music Week has been staging these shows and dozens more, along with live music in Julia Davis Park, recitals and local choirs, and every single performance. It's free and it's open to the public. This year, dedicated volunteers are staging How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, great jazz music, and dancing from around the world. So here to tell us all about Boise Music Week and its amazing history, our president, Kent Solberg, vice president, Barbara Oldenburg, and publicity chair, Daniel Furman. I want to welcome all three of you to the show. Thanks so much for making time for us today.
Thank you, Gemma. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hello.
Hi.
So, Kent, let me begin with you. Can you give us a little bit of history? When and how did Boise Music Week start?
Yeah, so Boise Music Week started in 1919. It was the brainchild of Eugene Farner, who was the music director at St. Michael's Church here in Boise. And he was looking at a world coming out of the tragedies of World War I and the Spanish flu pandemic, which both ended just months before he put on the first Boise Music Week. And it was basically a celebration of using a requiem that honored the fallen in France. And they started doing other things, and year after year they built it up and eventually came to parades. They would have multiple churches would have worship services on the first Sunday of the week. They'd have choir nights, they'd have band nights, they'd have parades through downtown, lantern parades, and eventually they built a big wooden stage out in the open in front of the Capitol building and started putting on musical productions. And those productions went on for years, moving eventually into Boise High's auditorium and then sharing it with Capitol High. And in 1988, Velma Morrison made sure that we were able to put on a production in the Morrison Center. And that tradition of the Morrison Center has now continued since then continuously. This will be our 39th show in the Morrison Center, and we are just absolutely over the moon to in appreciation for them.
Barbara, let me bring you into the conversation. Why was it so important for the founders and really to everyone involved with Boise Music Week to keep all of these performances free?
That's something I think that is based on the community we live in. Boise has always been so strong in the arts and music especially, and we wanted to make it accessible to everyone. And that's how it all started out, and we've kept it continuous since then. It is the oldest free music festival in the country.
Wow, that's really something. And the locations of Music Week have jumped all over. And Ken, you mentioned the Morrison Center, but where do all of the events happen now?
So this year, for instance, we have music in the park at Julia Davis at the band shell, and we'll have jazz night and the Treasure Valley concert band along with the Basque choir performing at South Junior High on 2 different nights. We'll be at Bora High with with our big, help me, Barb, dance night.
Yes.
And then organ recitals it'll be at First Presbyterian this year because of the work going on down at St. Michael's. And then our children's adventures are at the Hillside branch Hillcrest branch of the Boise Library. So we're really all over throughout the town.
Daniel, what do you want folks who may not know much about Boise Music Week, to know about it? I mean, there's such an incredible history.
Absolutely. I grew up going to Boise Music Week stuff. I've loved it. And I think I've been with the board I think this is my second year, first year actually on the board. But I think something that I've really appreciated is just the quality of production of music, of performance that is present with all of the performances that we put on with Boise Music Week, from the musical to the concert band showcase to the jazz night. All of the performances are very high quality, and they're completely free to the public, which is really hard to find where that intersects. It's hard to find stuff that is easily accessible and high quality and enjoyable to just about anybody. And Boise Music Week fits that bill very well.
And Barbara, this year you're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Talk to us about why you decided, to use that as your theme.
Well, there is such a wealth of American music in this country, both patriotic and music that represents the different areas of our country. And it's a really nice opportunity to feature that. Not all of our programs are going to be featuring the 250th anniversary of our country, but I know Jazz Night is focusing on that, as well as Dance Night and the Showcase. The musical is set in the United States, but it's not a historical. It takes place in the 1960s.
But it has something to say about our American culture, for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And then Ken, I mentioned at the very top of our interview, you're going to be putting on the play How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Talk to us about that. Why that musical, for folks who aren't familiar.
Well, as I said, it captures a part of Americana that we really need to learn from. We can take a look at this play that came out in early 1960s and really started making jabs at the American way of business. And yet we look now and see, are we making progress? Where are we making progress in our social and economic approach? So it really is a timely chance to look at ourselves. And Barb's actually our musical director for the play. She could probably talk a little bit more about that.
Our director puts it really well. She says it's a satirical look at the business practices of the 1960s, and it's kind of a Mad Men meets the goofy how-to videos of our youth. So it's very humorous, but it's also very thought-provoking in how people were treated, secretaries, for instance, how they were treated in the business world, and how that has changed, thankfully, in the years since then. It's been produced on Broadway several times. The most recent viewing of that was starring Daniel Radcliffe of Harry Potter fame, and he was absolutely delightful in it. It's got great music, and our cast is just wonderful.
And Daniel, I know that you really rely on volunteers for Boise Music Week. Do you still need volunteers leading up to this?
We absolutely never turn away anybody willing and wanting to help. We are always looking for people who are willing to help in front of house, like helping guide audience members and those looking to enjoy the events that we have to offer. We have plenty of events that need help with setup and with teardown. And in general, I think volunteer work is always incredibly encouraged and very graciously accepted wherever it's offered. And information on that can be found on our website, and we have lots of avenues with which people can find out how they can help.
Well, I want to thank all of you so much for taking time to talk with us about this amazing event. As we said, everything is free at Boise Music Week, all of the performances. We've been talking about Boise Music Week along with its really long history. Our guests today have been President Ken Solberg, Vice President Barbara Oldenburg, and Publicity Chair Daniel Furman. We're going to make sure that we put links to Boise Music Week on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org, so you can get all of the information that you need about it. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Make sure you check out our podcast feed because you can find more episodes of topics that might be interesting to you. And for more local news and headlines, make sure you subscribe to the Connector podcast. Find this and other Boise State Public Radio podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.
If you like podcasts like this, explore more from the Boise State Public Radio podcast family. There you'll find a mix of daily news, Idaho Voices, and in-depth series on a wide range of topics. I'm talking wild horses, political scandals, sustainable ranching, and militia groups in a post-January 6th world. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search Boise State Public Radio to find what Idaho's NPR station has in store for you.